Hello trainers, Ganeto here, and today we're diving together into Holiday Cup of UltraLeague and we're having the best teams around Giratina. This is a video that I think you should watch till the end because I'm having a lot of crazily good teams so that you're gonna have a lot of fun and of course gain some easy yellow on that Go Battle League format. So starting off, we have the first team showcase with Giratina up on the lead, followed up by Virizion and Isuyan Avalag. So this line relies a lot on its charge attacks, but Giratina with Drango Breath is gonna pressure a lot of things in the meta, especially its counters. Its main counter is gonna be most probably the Obstagoon because it's gonna be everywhere, and with Drango Breath Giratina doing a solid work against that dark type Pokemon, and of course Virizion walling it down, your Isuyan Avalag can have kind of a better sweep scenario there with its moveset. I really like Isuyan Avalag for the meta, and unlike Aurorus, which we're gonna see in a while, it has access to a nuke move of an ice type because Aurorus has Meteor Beam while Isuyan Avalag carries the move Blizzard, which can hit hard pretty much anything and you're not gonna regret its damage outputs. Rock Slide is also a very nice move, and you're gonna most probably knock out that matchup with the Charizard pretty easily for you when using a Pokemon like Isuyan Avalag. I really like Virizion on the safe sweet spot. Just be sure that you run the move Stone Edge over that Leaf Blade because Stone Edge is gonna give you coverage against the Flyers, and trust me, you need that because the Soul Core Breaker of this team is gonna be the Togekiss. Togekiss is gonna be able to go pretty well against Giratina, has a very good matchup against Virizion obviously, but of course has to block that Stone Edge. Other than that, you're gonna be just fine because if you are not gonna sit up on the lead at the backline, you have a Pokemon like Isuyan Avalag which can simply destroy it down with a Rock Slide, so I would not be that much worried as a Togekiss at the backline if I see a Togekiss at the backline because the other two Pokemon might struggle, but Isuyan Avalag can definitely take that responsibility in finishing it off. So we're looking at a pretty strong team to start off the video, so now let's see what we got about team number 2. Now for this team, we got Obstagoon up on the lead, followed up by Giratina and Articuno. Once again, this team might struggle a little bit against Togekiss, so that's why I recommend you to use not Drango Breath but instead Shadow Claw. I'm using Drango Breath here because I was having back-to-back matches, but still if you want to use a regular team to go ahead pretty strong on the Holiday Cup, I think that this team will work much better with Shadow Claw on your Giratina to have a much better matchup against that Togekiss. Once again, you have a nice type on the team as a closer, so even the Togekiss you can still manage with it with your ice moves. However, the solid core breaker of this line is gonna be Tapu Koko because of Thunderbolt and Dazzle Gleam, and of course its typing being part fairy. It can simply destroy down the Obstagoon only with its typing, and of course has Dazzle Gleam to obligate the matchup against any dragon type including the Giratina. Thunderbolt can also do a lot of work, especially with the Volt switches, adding up in damage and getting some real nice energy for Tapu Koko against that Articuno. So this is gonna be another matchup you won't avoid with this line, but Tapu Koko is not gonna be that much around, so I would not be that much worried about that one. So we're looking at a team that can go pretty tough at the opponent, spam its way to victory, especially if you have the Shadow Claw version of Giratina. Icy Wind will get you some really nice debuffs for your enemy, and of course I recommend using Hurricane over its power because with Hurricane you get the nuke possibility from a Pokemon like Articuno which already hits a lot of damage on the enemy. I think we're gonna be just fine with this line. It has a lot of coverage against the meta and can go pretty tough even against the most relevant teams. Heading into the next one now, and we're having the Giratina on the closing part. We saw Giratina up on the lead, we saw Giratina as a safe switch, but here it is gonna work as a closer, and I prefer it with Drango Breath over Shadow Claw when we're talking about Giratina at the closing part. You're gonna do a lot of work with your standard moveset, Ancient Power and Dragon Claw, and you are not gonna need at all Shadow Force or Shadow Sneak for the current meta of Holiday Cup. Enough about Giratina, we got up on the lead the Aurorus, which is gonna do a lot of work, vamping up its attack stat with Meteor Beam, and of course then those Weather Balls are gonna hurt a lot, so Aurorus definitely a top meta Pokemon for this cup. Safe switch of this line is gonna be of course the Charizard because it has access to Wing Attack which was updated this season, and now it can reach even faster to those Dragon Claws and the Blast Burn, dealing massive damage to the enemy, and you're gonna have a lot of great time flipping around that very bad lead matchup with your Charizard most of the times. Core breaker of this line though is gonna be the other Ice/Rock type Pokemon, the Isuyan Avalag, which can have a very good matchup matchup against Aurorus, can kinda wall down that Charizard, and of course has Blizzard to one-shot down even at the 100 HP range that Giratina matchup. So Hisui and Avalak definitely a worth mentioning core breaker. I think this team is gonna rely a lot on its synergy. Do not be afraid to safe switch and aggressively do that with your Charizard, because you want to draw out something that your Giratina might be afraid of, or something that you want to easily finish off and turn around that really bad lead that you might have with your Aurorus, let's say something like an Obstacle for example. So this line is working pretty well with its other synergy wise, so I really recommend to you trainers. Now let's focus into the final one and let's see what we got for you. And it's another Giratina team, but this time with Double Dragon at the back with Curem stealing the safe sweet spot here. We're having that Giratina closer once again. You need it with your Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw and Ancient Power, but enough about Giratina, let's talk about the other two Pokemon because they're gonna placing Giratina around with a lot of coverage against the meta. Up on the lead we have of course the Ampharos, which is gonna do a lot of solid work pretty much against anything, but what I like especially about this Pokemon is that it's like the Vigoroth of Great Cup. You have either soft losses or soft wins, which means that either your opponent will not be able to farm down a lot of energy out of you when you win against them with that matchup, or they are just gonna be able to destroy you down but very softly, and then Curem can come in, start farming up some energy, get definitely a shield with its moves which are pretty good to be honest, and then Giratina will have the upper hand on the closing part. So I really like Glaciate on Curem. It can debuff the enemy. It's kinda like an Icy Wind clone, I believe at this point, debuffing the enemy, do some really nice damage. And of course you have access to Dragon Claw and Dragon Breath, and when they're coming up from a Pokemon like Curem, they hurt a lot, even more than what Giratina does with its Dragon Breath, which is absolutely amazing. Curem can really hold on even against its counter, something like an Obstagoon for example, because you can still Dragon Breath them down, debuffing them with a Glaciate, and then do a lot more work with your moves. Core breaker of this line is gonna be the Alola Sandslash, because it has a very solid counter moveset actually for the front line against the Ampharos with the Bulldoze. Has a very good matchup against Giratina, walling it down, and of course can go pretty well against that Curem, dealing nice neutral damage against that matchup. But overall, Alola Sandslash is gonna be extremely weak to its defensive stat, so you can definitely draw a shield out of them or two, or just throw the Thunder Punch and still do about 50% with your Ampharos. So we're talking about a very classy mon. So that's all trainers, thank you for watching, thank you for staying till the end. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and I hope to see you all into the next one. Take care trainers.